On the edge of a quiet little village, where the cobblestone road faded into wild grass and the whispers of the wind carried secrets through the trees, there stood a small wooden house. Its roof sagged with age, its floors creaked like tired bones, and its curtains had long lost their color, faded by years of sun and dust. Around the house a neglected garden grew, half weeds, half wildflowers, a strange harmony of chaos and beauty. Inside lived an old woman. No family remained for her, no children, no grandchildren, no brothers or sisters to visit during holidays. Her husband had passed away many years before, and the friends she once laughed with were gone, one by one, like candles being blown out by time. She had no great savings, no treasures stored in trunks or safes, and certainly no property beyond her humble house and garden. Yet, despite her solitude, people often wondered about her. Why is she always smiling? Villagers whispered to one another as they passed her home. She never complains, never speaks of loneliness, never asks for help even though she has so little. The truth was, the old woman carried within her a peace that seemed unshakable. She would often tell anyone who bothered to ask, "The less I carry, the more room I have for peace." Her days passed quietly. Each morning she swept her porch, fed the little sparrows and finches that hopped around her yard, and brewed herself a small pot of tea. She sat by the fireplace in her rocking chair, letting the rhythm of her breath keep time with the creaking wood beneath her. She was old, yes, but she was content. One winter morning, after brushing the thin layer of snow from her doorstep and scattering crumbs for the birds, she noticed something unusual. There, resting neatly against the wooden step, was a small box. It was plain, made of wood, but polished smooth as though someone had cared for it. What drew her attention most was the lock, a tiny golden lock that shone against the dull brown surface. The old woman bent down, her joints stiff and slow, and lifted the box into her hands. It was surprisingly light. No name was written on it, no letter attached, no sign of who had left it there or why. Curious, she carried it inside and placed it on her kitchen table. She studied it carefully. The lock was firm, and there was no key. For a long moment, she simply stared at it, listening almost as though the box itself had something to say. And perhaps, in a way, it did. A soft whisper, not of sound but of feeling, seemed to stir in her chest. "Inside is what you've been waiting for your whole life." The old woman chuckled, shaking her head. "I have lived my whole life without waiting for anything. What could possibly be in here for me?" Still, her curiosity grew. She tugged at the lock, tried to pry the lid open with her thin fingers, but it didn't budge. The box soon became a part of her life. Each morning after tending to her birds and sweeping the porch, she would sit with the box, place it on her lap, and try again. She twisted it, tapped it, pulled at the lock, but it remained firmly shut. When she tired of trying, she placed it gently back on the shelf above her fireplace, always with a little smile. "Still locked," she would say aloud to herself, "but so is life sometimes." Days turned into weeks, and the presence of the box no longer troubled her. Instead, it became a silent companion, an object of quiet anticipation. Perhaps it held treasure, perhaps a secret, perhaps nothing at all. She did not know, but she was in no hurry. And then, one cold evening when snow fell heavily outside and her fire flickered low, something happened. As she reached for the box, the golden lock gave a sudden, quiet click. Her heart leapt. For the first time in many years, her fingers trembled, not from age or weakness, but from excitement. She placed the box on the table, leaned close, and with careful, deliberate hands, she lifted the lid. The lid creaked open, and the old woman held her breath. Inside, she expected to find something: coins, jewels, a letter from a long-lost friend, perhaps even a key to some mystery she had never known. But there was nothing. No gold, no letter, not even a trace of dust. The box was completely empty. For a moment, silence filled the room. Her eyes searched again just to be sure, but there was nothing to see, only smooth wood. And then she laughed. Not the bitter laugh of disappointment, not the empty laugh of madness, but a laugh so pure and deep it filled the small house like music. It echoed off the walls, bounced against the ceiling, and warmed the air more than the fire ever could. She wiped a tear from her wrinkled cheek and whispered to herself, "All this time, I thought the box would give me something, but it only reminded me that I already have everything I need." The old woman made herself a cup of tea, sat back in her rocking chair, and watched the snowflakes drift past her window. The box, still empty, rested beside her favorite cup. It did not matter that it contained nothing. In its emptiness, it had given her the greatest gift, a reminder that happiness does not come from what we receive, but from how we hold what we already have. Her house, though small, was warm. Her garden, though wild, still bloomed. Her days, though quiet, were full of peace. The empty box was no disappointment. It was a mirror showing her what had always been there. And so it stayed on her table, not as a mystery waiting to be solved, but as a gentle reminder that sometimes the greatest treasures come wrapped in silence and emptiness. In the weeks that followed, the villagers noticed something different. The old woman's smile seemed brighter, her laughter lighter, her presence warmer. When asked why she was so happy, she would only nod toward the little box on her table and say, "Happiness isn't in what you get. It's in how gently you hold what you already have." Many people did not understand, but a few did. And for those few, her words became seeds planted deep in their hearts, seeds that would one day grow into trees of wisdom. The old woman may not have left behind wealth or a great legacy in the eyes of the world, but in truth, she left behind something far greater, a lesson in contentment, a reminder that joy can be found not in possession, but in appreciation. That winter passed, and spring came. The wildflowers in her garden grew tall and bright, dancing in the breeze. The birds returned in greater numbers, chirping as though they too had learned her secret. Inside her little house, the rocking chair creaked, the fireplace glowed, and the empty box sat quietly by her cup of tea. It would remain there, year after year, long after her laughter had faded from the rooms. And perhaps one day someone else would find the box, open it, and learn the same truth. That happiness is not hidden in what we lack. It is revealed in how deeply we cherish what we already hold.